it may be boring, or something, but there's so much that's so deep. There's so many things that you could learn in Vayikra, right? Even this first portion, definitely in this first portion. Um, uh, but today I'm going to talk about humility and service, and the idea of this humility comes from the very first word in the Torah. And in this Torah right here, when it says Vayikra, that first word of our Torah portion, there's a small Aleph, right? And our sages wonder, like, why? Why is there a small Aleph? And they taught us that that when Moshe was speaking with Hashem and said he was unworthy to be, I guess, called by Hashem, and so he wanted the word to be a different word. He wanted the word to be, I can't remember. Maybe our Hebrew speakers will know more, but he wanted the word to be like a kind of a stumbled upon Moshe instead of I called Moshe, right? But Hashem said no, it needs to be that I called you. And so, but he said, but you can put a small aleph to change it, to make it a little unique, to make it more like the humble person you are. And so that's what Moshe wrote, a small aleph in there. That's the story. That's the Midrash, right? And so, so we learn that, we learn from here that little verse or that little word, that little aleph, that humility was part of Moshe. And Moshe was humble, and as it says later on, he was the most humble, right? And so, we learn this from Moshe. We learn this from Moshe's example that we should also be humble. And he was humble, even though he was the leader. He was teaching all the Israelites. He would, they were all watching him all the time, and yet he still was humble in the way he did things. And so let's get another view, right? Another view. So Rabbi Hillel, we know from in history, Rabbi Hillel is one of our great sages, and he had this principle that he shared. He said, "What is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow. This is the entire Torah. The rest is commentary. Now go and study." So he's teaching that we need to serve each other, right? We need to. Well, I mean, he didn't say that exactly. He's just said, don't do things that you wouldn't want to do to yourself, or treat others as you would treat them, essentially. But he also says, go study, and so that you can see that being in service to others, treating each other like you want to be treated, is one of the things that we need to do, right? So we have humility and service. These are two things that kind of go hand in hand. You can't serve without being humble, essentially, and oftentimes you can't be humble without having that service idea, right? Another thing we have here is what Yeshua said. Yeshua said in Matthew 20, verse 26 through 28, he says, "Whoever wants to become great among you, you must be your servant." So if you want to be great, you must be the servant. "And whoever wants to be first must be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." And so we see here that to be truly great is to serve. And we know the other verse where it says, the first shall be last and the last shall be first, right? It's this idea of humbleness and servitude. So how can we, what's an example that we can do, a practical thing that we can do? And one thing we can do is, you can have this journal, that keeps track of things that you do, acts of service that you do that no one knows about except for you. You're like being like the humble servant that nobody knows about, right? You can write it in you could just, mark it in your phone, have a little kind of a reminder or something in your phone, and just keep track of those things for a while, and then go back and look and see, like, oh, these are all the things that I've done that were service that nobody really knows about, but you know about them, and so it might change the way you think and the way it will also make you feel good too, right? And oftentimes it does. And here's some examples that the uh, the the search looked up for me. It said, which some of them I agree, and some of them are kind of weird, but I think weird anyway. But anyway, it said you could leave an anonymous note to one of your colleagues, um, or friends, people that you work with or around or whatever, and give them encouragement about how their job in their job or something like that. It said also you can secretly pay for a stranger's coffee. I don't know how you can do that secretly. You usually they'll say, "Well, who paid for my coffee?" This point, right? It's not gonna. You could try to be secret about it, I guess. And then another one was picking up litter around your neighborhood without anybody. Well, nobody is watching you, or not being obvious about it or making an announcement about it. You're just going around picking up litter, and so these things are like, you know, kind of undercover. And there's probably 100 other things you can do that are like secret servanthood. It's being secret and being humble about it, and also showing that you care about people and in the place around you, right? And so when you go back and read these things in your journal, or the things that you've done, you may think about, nobody knew about it. And how does that affect you? And you might think, well, even though no one knows about them, I know about them, and I know that I'm knowing that I'm doing good, and it kind of make you feel good because you're knowing you're doing good, even though no one else knows. And it allows you to be humble, and it allows you to be a servant. And so maybe so that's the challenge, and maybe do these things, and enjoy it, enjoy the servitude and the humble, the humility, and may it change our hearts, may it change our ways, the way we are, and also heal those around us. There are a lot of people that don't have the Torah, don't have the truth that we know, and sometimes when they come across you, they may think that it's not, that you're weak, or that something's wrong with you, or whatever. They might think other things, but others may come across and think, this is good, this is what I want, this is the kind of person I want, or want to be around, or want to be like. And so that's what we want to do. We want to shine in any way that we can. So with that, so Shabbat Shalom, and we have